Welcome to Simonsen Says. This is episode 5. I am here with Charlie, and we are going to get down into the weekly market update.
So as we enter April, we are now entering quarter 2. Let's recap the activity we saw during quarter 1. What did you see quarter 1 in the luxury sector?
We saw in the luxury sector, it was very strong this year because of the $50 billion of bonuses and, of course, the strong stock market.
Interesting. And did that differ from the luxury sector versus, the rest of the market?
Well, what did very well uptown were 3 bedrooms and downtown 1 bedroom, so smaller apartments downtown.
Interesting. And how are you seeing new development sales activity?
New developments are doing extremely well right now. They are up over 10%, and one of the reasons, I think, is because people really will pay up to not have to do any work.
Great. And do we expect to see the same as we enter quarter 2?
Well, obviously, the market's quite volatile right now, but I'm bullish, and I think it's going to be a very strong quarter 2. Thank you so much, Charlie. And when we come back, we have Bob Knakal, who is a dear friend as well as a commercial icon.
Hey, it's Stephen Bailey from Roadway Moving and Storage. As an official moving partner of Brown Harris Stevens, we know that your clients deserve more than just a move. At Roadway Moving and Storage, we turn moving into an experience they will love. From specialized services to a white glove treatment, we've got it all covered. When you choose Roadway, you're choosing a peace of mind for your clients. Plus, our referral program is the most rewarding in the industry. Want to learn more? Shoot me an email at steven@roadwaymoving.com or visit roadwaymoving.com.
Here I am today with my incredible guest and friend, Bob Knakal. Thank
Lisa,
you, Bob, for joining me today.
Lisa, great to be with you, as always.
Thank you. So, there's so much to cover today, but let's just start with 2014, where you had, a very successful company called Macy Knakal, and you sold it. And a lot of people at that point might have thought you would retire, kick back, and, you, of course, being you, did the opposite and really have stepped it up over the last now 11 years. So, tell us a little bit about why you didn't decide to kick back and you haven't retired.
Well, number one, we couldn't because we, selling a service business, you're on a service contract.
Right.
So part of the deal when we sold the company to Cushman & Wakefield, Paul and I signed 5-year contracts with Cushman. And it actually, in retrospect, everybody thinks we were extraordinarily smart to have sold in 2014, but that decision actually was made in 2007. In 2007, we almost sold the company to CBRE for a variety of reasons that didn't happen. But what that taught us was that whenever we did sell, we would be on 5-year contracts. And we looked ahead and saw that Paul was turning 55 in 2015. So we said, you know what, the perception of the value of these contracts is going to be a lot more if we're in our 50s than if we're in our 80s. So in 2014, if the market doesn't stink, that would be a good time to look at exercising the ability to sell. So we get to 2014, beginning of the year, the market's rolling. Little did we know that it would be the all-time record year for sales. 5,534 buildings were sold in 2014, which is still an all-time record by more than 10%.
Really? Wow.
So it was absolutely the best time to sell. But we were on 5-year contracts. Cushman did a couple of things subsequent to the sale that breached our contract. So we were able to shorten the term from 5 years to 3.5 years, got a couple of more goodies as part of the deal. But then when my contract was up there, I needed to decide what to do. I didn't, at that point, have the stomach to go ahead and start another company again. All the cuts that we had to make in 08 and 09 really were still very fresh. That wound was still open, so didn't want to get back on the entrepreneurial side of the business. Went to JLL, brought 53 people with me, all of whom had worked with me at Massey Knakal.
Really? So everybody, all 53 were with you before?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, and when we sold to Cushman, we had 250 people. So didn't bring everybody with me, but brought 53 people to JLL. Was there for 6 years. They unceremoniously fired me on Valentine's Day of 2024 and had to decide what to do. So I took a couple of months, and that entrepreneurial spirit got back under my skin, decided to start another company. So that's the company just turned one, and BKREA is off to a flying start, and very, very happy and feel reinvigorated. And, you get to why did I stay in the business?
Right.
Why did I keep doing it? And it really comes down to a real passion for the business. I truly love it. There's nothing else I want to do. And so for me, selling buildings is not only a career, but it's my hobby as well. So something I just don't think of as work. And sometimes you want to pull your hair out because it can get very frustrating, but still, notwithstanding the difficult times you go through, I still absolutely love it.
Actually, I hadn't thought of, when you say frustrating, because you're always, very level-headed, and I've known you a long time, but what actually does make you frustrated with work?
When people are irrational. I probably, to my own detriment, I think I am more flexible in negotiation than I should be. But I look at the big picture and say, hey, we're trying to get from A to B. If there's a more direct route, let's just get there and move on. And some people get so caught up in the minutia of things that I think it's a lot of wasted energy. So my biggest frustration comes from folks not seeing the obvious. But sometimes that's a broker's job, is to hold people by the hand and hopefully get them to that rational perspective, even though you may take a couple of detours along the way.
So, Bob, you graduated from Wharton, and did you always know that you wanted? I mean, what were you thinking when you were in school? Did you know real estate was ahead, or how did that?
No, Lisa, I got into real estate completely by accident.
Oh, really? Tell us about that.
Take you back to 1981. I'm a freshman at Wharton and wanted to be the next Gordon Gekko like every other Wharton kid. So spring break, freshman year, I put together a resume. I grew up in northern New Jersey, Bergen County, and wanted to get a banking job that would look good on my resume. So I drove around dropping the resume off at every commercial bank and investment bank I saw. I was in Hackensack, New Jersey, came out of a Payne Webber office after dropping my resume off. Across the hall, I saw Coldwell Banker. I walked into the place thinking it was a bank. Gave them my resume. They called me later that day, set up an interview for the following day. It was 1981, so there was no internet. So I went to the library that morning to look up this bank. So I knew a little about them when I went to the interview. And I see it's a real estate company. I'm like, oh, shit, I don't want to get into the real estate. And almost didn't go on the interview, but they were the only ones hiring college kids for the summer. Took the job, loved it, went back my next 2 summers. And then when I got out of school, I went to work for CB in Manhattan.
So it was written, and it was destiny that you ended up in real estate. What do you find, what's the difference for you working for someone or, it being under your name, your business?
Well, I will tell you, and I say this always, that there are pros and cons to every environment. Pros and cons to a small firm, medium-sized firm, big firm, working for yourself, working for somebody else. And I think the key really is to try to take advantage of the benefits that environment affords you, and try to stay away from the negative stuff that environment has. And just for me, I think that based on my personality, I think working for myself is the best fit for me. If I think that something's a good idea and I want to go do it, I want to do it 100 miles an hour, and I don't want to wait to do it. So a lot of times if you're in a larger organization, there are levels of approval that you have to get. And I just think for me personally, working for myself gives me the ability to go in the direction I want to go as soon as possible and as fast as I can.
Something which is interesting that you do that I think a lot of commercial brokers don't do, you do a lot of social media. I think you're probably doing more social media than any other commercial broker that I know, which is great. It's more like what I do as a residential broker. So how did why are you doing that, and the other commercial guys out there are not doing really what you're doing at all? And you're also doing very well at it, I might add, because it's not been that long, and you have a tremendous amount of followers. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thanks. It gets back to two things. One is that I got on social media because I succumbed to peer pressure.
Okay.
Virtually all of my friends, except for a group of 7 of us that went to kindergarten together, all of my friends are in real estate. Mm-hmm. And there are friends who became clients who became friends, and almost all of my social time is spent with people in the business. And you're out having a couple of drinks. I love telling deal stories. Everybody loves to hear what happened behind the scenes, right. What made the seller crazy, what made the buyer crazy, how did you overcome impasses? And people would routinely say to me, BK, you should go online and put the stuff online. People would love it. And I always thought, oh, well, social media is such a waste of time. Why would I do this? And I started in earnest on social media in January of 23, in those days I was posting at 10 a.m. every day. Today it's 7:30 in the morning. But I remember one day early, probably mid-January, so I'd only been on a couple of weeks, and I posted a photo of me standing on my big map, which is now part of the Knakal map room. And the 24-foot-long map is laid out on my living room floor at my country house, and I'm standing on top of it. It's a pretty cool picture, and we posted it at 10 o'clock. And I'm walking around the JLL offices, and by 11 o'clock, 8 people had come up to me and said, "Hey, BK, we saw the picture of you on that map. That was so cool, right. Blah, blah, blah." And 2 things struck me immediately. Number one, wow, a lot of people are on social media. This is incredible. Number 2 was, what the heck are people doing on social media between 10 and 11 o'clock on a Wednesday morning instead of working? And so I figured if this was happening at JLL, it was probably happening elsewhere. And so I said, I should really keep with this, stick to it. And the second basis why I think it's important is because I'm a firm believer, if you follow me on social media, I believe it's not who you know, but who knows you. Mm-hmm. And it has to be that way simply because if you look at the New York City investment sales market, that the arena that I play in, there's about 176,000 investment properties. Mm-hmm. There are over 250,000 people that have ownership interest in those buildings. I make a lot of phone calls, but I can't call 250,000 people. So I need a part of my business. Yes, I still make calls. That's still my number one revenue-generating activity that I do every single day.
Really?
But I need some of my business to come to me. Mm-hmm. And so market presence is a huge part of this. Market presence is making your phone calls, sending out email blasts, sending out text blasts, doing hard mail, which is very underrated, but a great thing to do, creating content, being on social media, networking, speaking in public. All of those things create market presence such that people get to know who you are, right. What you can do. You stay top of mind with people. And social media is such a great way to, take a few minutes to do one post, and all of a sudden you're getting to tens of thousands of people. Yeah. So from a market presence perspective, there's a lot of horsepower to social media, and it's been tremendous. I've gotten opportunities to have relationships with people I wouldn't have had otherwise. And it has put me in the way of information that has significantly benefited my clients. And if you think about it, why do we do any of the things we do? We do them because we want to be able to do a better job for our clients, sure, right. Help our clients make more informed decisions. The more informed the client is, the better decision they make. The better decision they make, the better their outcome is going to be. So if I am on CNBC or I'm on Fox, or I send out a tweet that gets a lot of traction, or a LinkedIn post, or go speak at an event for the Mortgage Bankers Association, if there's somebody that hears what I say and calls me up as a result, mm-hmm. and says, "Hey, Bob, I want to buy one of the buildings you have," or I know somebody that would be a great buyer for one of your buildings, and that person ends up paying more for that right. building than anybody else, that's helped my client. Absolutely. So I think there's a big right. misconception about the intent behind which we're doing all this market presence stuff. Right. The folks who don't get it say, "Well, you're an egomaniac, and you're just out for yourself to become well known and everything else. And if you don't really get it, that's what you think. But
Right.
that's small-minded thinking. If you look at the big picture, I'm doing anything I can to advantage my clients.
Right.
And so if I go give a speech somewhere or I go do something that advances this market presence campaign I have, and that results in a better result for my client, that's the objective.
Plus, I also think when people see you doing all of these things, whether it be television, whatever it is, speaking, your clients see you as more of an expert. Would you agree?
It's absolutely.
right.
It's you want to establish credibility,
Exactly.
show you've been there, done that, you've helped other people that are in the same position that client may be
Absolutely.
in, and that helps you. I always say people will talk to people they know and like,
Right.
but they'll work with people they trust. And in
Right.
terms of building
That's true.
trust, it's a great way to have the endorsement or the tacit endorsement of other people based on how you're perceived in the marketplace. That helps build trust.
That's very interesting, Bob, and we're going to take a quick break and come back to that point. Thank you.
Calling all real estate investors. I'm Scott Nadler, VP of Mortgage Lending at Cross Country Mortgage, and it's time to level up your portfolio. Whether you're a seasoned pro or making your first investment, I'll find the right financing to maximize your returns. From single-family homes to multi-unit properties, I'm here to help you crush your investment goals. Ready to grow? Let's connect today and make it happen.
And we're back. So, Bob, I want to ask you, well, I have a few more questions, but let's just go back to social media. What's the purpose of it? Is it so people get to know you better? Is it for brand building? Is it for actually leading to more business? What can you tell us why you're so active?
Well, Lisa, it's a number of things. One, I think it's very important to stay top of mind. So is it necessarily that a buyer for one of the buildings I'm selling is going to see a social media post? Maybe, maybe not. But a tremendous amount of our business is referral business that comes from appraisers and accountants and architects and a variety of people. So being top of mind remains very, very important. And what I'll use an analogy for you. We used to send a ton of hard mail back in the old days. Before email became popular, we were sending out at Massey Knakal 3 million pieces of hard mail a year.
That's incredible.
And
Wow.
we did our newsletter, and it'd say Massey Knakal and Bob Knakal, and we always felt that if somebody picked up their mail and looked at it and said, "Oh, Massey Knakal building sales," and boom, threw it in the garbage, that was success. Why was that success? Because they looked at it, they saw it was a real estate company. Massey Knakal got in their brain, they threw it out. If they did that, they probably didn't have a need to transact at that moment.
Right.
But next month, another one, boom. Next month, another one, boom. And all of a sudden, something happens that precipitates a need to transact. Death, divorce, taxes, partnership disputes, something happens. You want the next thing that pops into somebody's mind. Hey, let me call that Knakal guy who's sending me all this stuff. And in the same way, social media does the same thing. If you think about the nature of investment sales in New York City, using Manhattan as a microcosm, south of 96th Street, there's 27,649 buildings. The average turnover rate of that stock, on average, over 40 years has been 2.6%. What does that mean? It means not a lot of stuff sells every year. Also tells you that when somebody buys a property in Manhattan, on average, they own it for 40 years before they sell it. So people are not constantly transacting. You have to be the person they think of when something happens and they decide the time is to sell. So in the same way that hard mail used to be that constant reminder, oh yeah, he sells buildings, oh yeah. In the same way, social media does the same thing.
Right.
People who are on social media, they're constantly seeing you, constantly being reminded you're there, what you do, what you've done for others, you're still around. And so that, I think, is a huge benefit of social media because you're reaching such a wide audience with relatively little effort.
Right.
And so being top of mind is a huge part of the whole social media experiment.
It's mind share. It's also, I've heard the term mind share, and I learned something right now because I think a lot of our mail does go into the garbage. I'm going to share this with Charlie. So were actually, I feel good about it. I didn't know ours, when it went into the garbage, it's a positive. So
No, look,
that's
I think
the
if
silver lining.
you compare hard mail to email,
Right.
that's why I say hard mail is very underrated. When someone deletes an email, there's almost no impression that you make on them. But if they pick up something out of their mail, look at it, and then throw it out,
Great.
the impression that it makes on the mindset of that person, I think, is very, very different. Plus, I think hard mail can be very, very sticky depending on what you send. If you send something printed very nicely on good quality stock, or it's a market report,
Right.
or something, you send a market report on an aspect of the real estate business. If they're in the real estate business, they're probably going to take, oh, let me read this later, put it aside. It sits on their desk. We've done all kinds of things with hard mail. We've done Post-it cubes with our logo all over and our
Right.
phone number. Or my baseball card is a big thing. That
Right.
my baseball business card sits on desk. I did a 250-page book, oversized coffee table book, of all my development site sales, with before pictures, after picture, right up on the deal, testimonial from the client. I walk into clients' offices and I see this thing sitting on the coffee table in the reception area. Could you imagine when other brokers walk into that client's office and see my book sitting there?
Right, it's
So
great.
in the same way, the way that is a constant reminder, social media is unbelievable at creating that constant reminder. Now, forget about on a monthly basis, how we used to do hard mail. This is a daily reminder that you're out there doing things. So
great.
the amount of referral business that I've gotten since being active on social media has been off the charts. And I really think it's not necessarily that I'm trying to identify that buyer,
Right.
but it's somebody that can get me to the buyer, or somebody that gets me to the next seller because they have a friend,
A connector.
a relative that they know wants to sell. Hey, maybe you should call that guy Knakal. So it's you want to be out there.
Right. No, I think that's absolutely true. So I want to ask you what you're looking for when you hire a broker. So I've been very, over the years, you've called me many times for my opinion, and I had an opportunity to work with you. I know you were interviewing several brokers at that point. So tell us what do you look for when you're calling or hiring a residential broker? Why have you called me for all the years?
Well, I will tell you, number one, market knowledge. Every time I see you speak, whether you're on TV or on a podcast
Right.
or in a public speaking event, you always articulate your knowledge of the market very clearly. And I always say the most frequently asked question we get as brokers is, how's the market?
Right.
99% of brokers answer that question with adjectives. You answer with statistics, and I love that about you. So I know you really know the market. Plus, you're out there, you have a great social media presence, things like that. So if I'm hiring a broker that I want to represent me on a residential deal, I want somebody like you that understands the market, can speak well about the market, is out there and has a big reach, that kind of thing.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when hiring brokers for my business, for the commercial business, we always looked at a couple of different things. We always particularly wanted folks who were extraordinarily competitive. Commercial real estate's a very, very competitive field. So we looked for folks who, particularly had team sports in their background, because not only were they competitive, but they worked well with others. We looked for some kind of competitive spirit in their background, with a captain of the debating team, with a publisher of the school newspaper, president of the class, that kind of thing. But there was also a factor that was really important too, and this is something that you have, which is likability. Which I think there should be a whole college curriculum on likability, salesmanship, persuasion, human behavior, because those are characteristics we all need. And unless you're a computer programmer, you're dealing with people all day long, you need those skills. But we always said to our HR people, look, you meet somebody, they could check all the boxes: good school, good grade point average, captain of the football team or the softball team, what have you, check all the boxes. But if after you've talked to them for a while, you don't feel like, hey, I would love to go grab lunch with this person or go have a beer with this person.
Right.
If you didn't feel that way, we told HR you can't offer that person a job, because if you don't feel that way about them, the client's not going to feel that way about them, and so the client's not going to want to work with them.
What is a sort of definite that you think I'm hiring that person? Is there a defining definite, and what's a definite not? Is there if you were
There are no definites.
Okay.
There are no definites. We can try to increase probability as much as we can, but we actually hired the valedictorian from Harvard.
Wow.
And I won't give the year because I don't want to give the guy's name away, but he flamed out in 9 months. Right. He couldn't sell water to somebody in the desert. And then we had one of our most successful salespeople barely got out of high school.
Right.
But he had such an infectious personality. You talk to this guy for 15 minutes, and you'd feel like he was your best friend for life. And that translated into really great sales ability. So there's nothing that's an absolute yes or an absolute no. I guess there are probably more absolute no's. The characteristics you would think that are obvious. But there's no definite yes.
I hope my son doesn't hear that. So we're going to make sure that James doesn't see this podcast because he's like, who needs high school? Who needs good grades? Going back to, I know you work out every day, and I know that's sort of not off. Well, I don't think it's off topic because I think it's a mindset. Tell us a little bit about your fitness routine, and do you think it's part of being successful?
Yeah, no. I think routine is really important. I think I've always been very active. I played basketball and baseball in high school. I played baseball in college, and so always have been athletic. But working out has always been part of my routine. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I did it to look good. Today, I do it to be healthy. But I think it's a great way to start the day. I have a gym in my house, and I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning in the gym by 5:30, and it just gets the day off to a good start. So I think it's important both physically and mentally to do that. And I know you're very, very active as well.
For sure.
And I think it's a great way to stay fit, keep your mind sharp, and get ready for another day in the trenches in real estate.
That's where I organize my mind in the morning. That keeps me focused. It helps my anger management. It's definitely the way that I like to start the day. Let me just go back to BKREA. Do you have goals for this year for your company? Do you don't have to share what they are, but do you tell us a little bit about
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. I think goal setting is very important. Mm-hmm. I think it's always good to have a 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year plan.
Is that financial? So your numbers?
Well, it's all KPIs, we call them, key performance indicators. Okay. So I will tell you that my number one goal personally has always been to make a certain number of connections with property owners on a weekly basis. For the first 10, 15 years of my career, it was 40 connections a week. Then it went to 50 connections. And I was kind of in the 50 connection range for a long time. And then COVID came along, and I worked from home. And I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan, but, Seinfeld talks about the stop and chat. And so, you're sitting at your desk and somebody comes up and says, hey, how was your weekend? Before you know it, 8 minutes or have been eaten up. So during the pandemic, working from home, I didn't have any interruptions, no stop and chats. So I found that I was making 100 connections a week during the pandemic. So now my goal is 100 connections a week and with property owners. A lot of people count dials. I don't care about dials. I rather somebody speak to 10 people a week having dialed 12 times than dial 400 times and talk to 5 people a week.
What do you mean when you say 100 people? So how are you connecting? You're saying when you say dial, it's over the telephone? Just to be clear.
All the phone calls, yeah. I want to connect with 100 property owners. My goal is to connect with 100 property owners per week and get around to asking them if there's anything they want to sell.
That's incredible.
That's prospecting is always has been and always will be the number one revenue generating activity that a broker can do. I think it may be different in residential, but in commercial, that's what you have to do. That's been successful. That provides a significant number of leads. So goals for the company. Anyway, I got sidetracked in my prospecting kick. But the first year of the company, we just passed our 1 year anniversary, was a seed planting year. And so in our first year, we did a little better than I anticipated. We sold 8 properties. We currently have 37 exclusives. It's about $2.5 billion worth of property. And we have a lot of paper flying around, and we have contracts out on 8 of our deals. good activity on many of them. And so this is a year we hope to, reap the harvest a little bit. And, I'm very happy with where the firm is so far.
Bob, tell us something, and we're going to wrap up soon, but I could sit here all day with you. Tell us something that most people don't know about you.
Something people don't know. Well, I love to cook, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
I love to grill.
Mm-hmm.
I love cooking steaks and stuff on the grill, and cook on the stove as well. But something I really enjoy. And as a kid, I don't know why I used to love watching cooking shows. So I picked up a lot of stuff and love to cook.
Bob, we're not going to let you go quite yet. We're going to come back, and we have rapid fire questions.
Okay.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. We work with Brown Harris Stevens and many other top real estate firms, staging their homes to sell quickly and at the highest price possible. Our staging is affordable without sacrificing quality or design. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
We're back, and let's get to the rapid fire. What's your favorite restaurant?
Oh my gosh, depends what kind of cuisine. I would say for Italian, I love Come Prima on Madison, 72nd, 73rd. And for French, Margarelle on 63rd off of Madison is my go-to place. I think it's absolutely fantastic food and one of the most beautiful restaurants in the city.
It's gorgeous. How do you decompress?
Probably doing social media.
Doing social media. What is a pet peeve?
A pet peeve. I think when market participants just simply don't get it.
Okay. What is your idea of a great vacation?
Great vacation is sitting on 7 Mile Beach on Grand Cayman, enjoying the sun and the water, and then going to a great meal at one of the many fantastic restaurants on Grand Cayman, like the Wharf or Casanova or Blue or Calypso Grill. I absolutely love it down there. My favorite vacation spot.
What's something you haven't done and you would like to do?
Go to Napa Valley.
You've never been to Napa?
Never been to Napa. Love wine, collect wine. It's been on the bucket list for many, many years, and hope to get there soon.
And what's a vice?
A vice. Probably I drink too much wine.
That's why you're going to Napa.
That's right.
Okay, that was great, Bob. So good to have you. And I just have to end on one note because your wife's going to appreciate this. I purposely wore this gorgeous, it's over 100 carat diamond necklace from the Ultimate Diamond, who's one of our sponsors. And Cynthia had, she really likes this necklace.
Every time she sees you with that on, she always gives me an elbow in the ribs and says, "Look at that!
Yeah,
look
exactly.
at that!"
So this is. For
I
Cynthia.
greatly appreciate it. You're supposed to be a friend, Lisa, and you're creating this.
How many buildings?
That's right, many buildings. But maybe we'll get there someday.
Okay, thanks, Bob.